Who likes football? Clearly, most of my fat-ass gamer audience doesn't, because who fucking greenlit a Tecmo Bowl movie? Certainly wasn't the gamers. Video game movies are a niche type of developing subgenre of cinema, full of so much potential, but more often than not, they crash and burn. You can't always stick the landing with something that's 99% of the time fictitious, with experiences built on very personal connection. Sports films, in a weird parallel, are kind of similar in that the expectation of the film is usually a universal appreciation for the sport or something we've all taken part of at least once in our miserable lives. One problem here, though. One problem. When you combine the generic as hell world of sports movies with the limitless creative and imaginative world of video games and video game movies, you get something absolutely fucking pointless! So, as tradition with Super Bowl season here in America, talking about football becomes the #1 talking point for many fans of football. A lot of talking. Recently, something football related was announced, and no, it wasn't FanDuel's market crashing, unfortunately, but something even worse. The crowdsourcing company, yes, crowdsourcing, relevant later, who was behind the film Piece by Piece, you know, the little kind of forgettable Pharrell Williams Lego movie that was okay, announced that they were going to do a film of the classic 80s era sports video game Tecmo Bowl, a football game that's, well, pretty much football. Who would have thunk? It's still somewhat in development, so I don't know the legitimacy of its release, or how, or when, or whatever the fuck. Just know that, trust me, when you Google Tecmo Bowl movie right now, you'll get many results. Anyways, there's a whole lot of questions I had, but the first intrusive thought I had was, Gran Turismo movie. Huh. This was relevant at the time because I remember a year or two ago there being a Gran Turismo movie that I guess wasn't explicitly based on the video games or some shit, and how they adopt it less as a direct in-the-seat racing movie, and not isekaiing our MC into the driving seat or whatever, and instead it's more of like a Steel Battalion style arcade-looking seat racing movie. Cool plot synopsis for someone who's never seen the movie, huh? Anyways, the film sucked. And it's kind of an omen for sports-themed video games movies, if you really think about it, because it says, this won't work! Tecmo Bowl is just a glorified simulation for football that kids back in the 80s had, and so were many sports games for that matter. I played the game, and although my sentiments aren't the same, I definitely know that it's just like any other football game back then. At least adapt a football game like, I don't know, NFL Blitz, for its slightly more batshit tackle animations or something, beating the shit and the piss out of each other and shit. Or better yet, Mutant Football League, where there's at least an aesthetic to latch onto and work with. Tecmo Bowl is a sports movie. How on earth is it gonna be unique? You can sense the whole film's plot from miles! Now, I was going to travel to Santa Clara, California to go see this year's Super Bowl in person, if it weren't for the losers taking my info and leaking it to 4chan, and to get an idea of what the hell a Tecmo Bowl movie is really going to be about. There's like zero iconography you can really work with in Tecmo Bowl. The real power move here was the players at the time, like Bo Jackson and whoever the fuck's on the cover of this game. Let me see here. Ah, yes! Joe Tecmo, my favorite football player. I would love for a movie to focus on the MC titled Joe Tecmo. Having the 80s era Steve Madden crash through the screen screaming, Joe Tecmo touches down with a fired up slam on Adam Tecmo to the depths of hell! Excuse me. Joe Tecmo and Bo Jackson might as well get their own biopics at this point. With the route that the studio's gone with in the past, let's use the baseline of Piece by Piece, for example, as a comparative format. Not with the themes or genre, but out of the use of visual ideas. The team behind the crowdfunding is Tongal, who have done many entrepreneurial endeavors in the past. I give praise for the team for giving a film a unique identity and building Pharrell's life through creative visuals, and the film's definitely got a fun visual flavor. But other than that, what's the catch? Pharrell and Legos? They never really have a thing in common. They never really connected. So when reading Tongal's incentive to provide Tecmo Bowl's visual style, quote-unquote, reminiscent of the classic pixelated video game, and quote-unquote, fusing real life with animated visuals, I'm really curious as to where this could go. Not to say that visual storytelling like this isn't possible. This feels like the only grasp they have at making it unique as a video game movie. I know that this wouldn't really count as a video game adaptation since Tecmo Bowl is kind of 90% based on real-life companies, teams, players, etc. But that also relays back to the confusion that this is a fucking Tecmo Bowl movie, and why is it getting made? How would they animate this too? Would they make it some shitty Cocomelon-ass 3D CGI modernist B-mouth AI slop garbage? And what's the shit they said we're reanimating the legendary animated sequences? I assume they mean the arcade game, but when playing the NES version and getting scenes like this, I slip closer into my noose. I appreciate the effort to endorse a creative-driven project, but how the fuck is a football film going to be creative? Maybe the filmography will be good, but this just feels like the shareholders needing a good announcement around Super Bowl time, or for 80s nostalgia bullshit or whatever. Speaking of being rushed, it's always a great sign when your movie is not even in pre-production or development time yet. A football movie with all of its aspects and elements laid out for you, it's just giving me a headache. It's giving me a headache. It's football. You're telling me the film is gonna need 160,000 people as part of the creative? That's a whole society for a movie about football. At the end of the day, if we're gonna seriously invest in such a shit-ass movie, don't focus on Tecmo Bowl. Focus on Super Tecmo Bowl instead. Yeah! That's where the objectively better football game is between the two. And it's got super in the title, making this concept still super shit.